Have you ever heard the biggest error in communication is to assume it has occurred? Or over-communication at work can create new tasks and responsibilities? These are two powerful quotes to consider. And as we think about them, it's clear that we need to communicate and never assume that it has happened already, and we need to guard against over-communication. So how do you thread that needle? You harness the flow and let information go. To hear from district leaders who effectively threaded that needle in the past year, keep watching. Hi, I'm Megan Campy, an Associate Partner at Education Elements, and welcome back to our New School Rules video series, where we speak with district leaders about how they respond quickly to unforeseeable challenges. This is the fifth of 6 videos in our series focusing on the rule Harness the Flow and Let Information Go. For more context, please check out our first 4 videos: Plan for Change, Not Perfection, Build Trust and Allow Authority to Spread, Define the work before you define the people, and aim for safe enough to try instead of consensus. In this video, we're talking about how teams increased their capacity and their efficiency when they got very intentional about communicating the right things to the right people at the right time. We'll hear from 3 superintendents in New York: Kimberly Moritz, Joe Hawkrider, and Aviva Kafka. Lori Barron, Montana Superintendent of the Year, and from Tennessee, Corby King, Director of Schools, and Sam Brooks, Personalized Learning Supervisor. As school leaders and their teams faced a fire hose of updates, information, guidelines, and questions, they found new ways to manage communication. First step was to instill some order. Superintendents Moritz and Hawkrider made decisions about what to share with which audience, and then followed a plan for communicating with consistency.
I think there are times when people want to use, well, I didn't know, or I didn't have the information as an excuse. So if we're really an open, transparent organization, they should be able to ask. And I said for a long time, I'm the most accessible superintendent on the planet. Everybody in the district has my personal cell phone number. It's our Zoom meeting ID number. So shame on you if you don't ask. But there are those times when we can't necessarily share everything. But when I interviewed for this position, I had a question that never left me. And it was from a union leader of a support staff. And he said, are you going to share information with us? And I said, well, I don't understand what you mean. What are you asking me? And he said, well, we've asked questions in the past and been told that's none of our business. And I would say that this was very much a top-down leadership situation when I arrived, and I just don't see that working. And as far as communicating to everybody in the organization, I've been saying for many years, you got to get that message out with boring redundancy. I was a brand new principal and I was having a conversation with somebody and I thought, I emailed that to her. Why is she even asking me about this? And so of course I learned the hard way, well, you can put it in your newsletter, you can put it on your blog, you can put it on social media, you can send an email, but also having that face-to-face conversation often makes a difference. And maybe if you have it in all of those different ways, everyone's going to hear whatever it is that they need to know.
We were sending out the baseline, most important information to everyone as often and as regularly as possible because we had to be transparent, but also our staff are also parents. So whatever we felt our parents needed to know, we also realized our staff needs to know because they're likely a parent of someone else. And so we tried to be universal in how we communicated. And then we continue to evolve because, 9 months has felt like a lifetime. So, through feedback and through experience, we keep trying to hit the right notes, understanding that we're never going to be perfect. We hosted a series of different live YouTube chats with our families so that they could see our faces and hear us and sort of have a normal meeting-like atmosphere, even though people couldn't physically show up, but also communicate in a bullet form so that folks, can receive in a real quick, short sort of elevator speech type of way what they need to know because they may have decisions to make based on that information.
In Putnam County, Tennessee, Corby King and Sam Brooks have established a practice of sending follow-up communications after all of their meetings.
Well, something as small as just creating a follow-up document. So, 1 week after the meeting, we had another conversation on what I was supposed to do. So what is my role in this? If I had not had this, I would have gotten lost in the weeds just as many other people do in education right now, because there's so many things that you have to do. So it just made it comfortable for me to know what my expectation was. And when I know my expectation, I have the tools to do it. It made it a lot easier for me to go execute that.
I go from so many meetings throughout a day. Without that follow-up piece, I might forget where we are because there's so much going on. That follow-up is key to make sure that I stay focused, that this is the direction we're moving. This is what I need to have accomplished before the next meeting. This is what I need to have prepared for my team. Here are the checkpoints that we're putting in place. And I think that is really important for me, so I have that visual, but also for our team.
Once communication practices were in place, the harnessing was done, and it was time to let information go. Many of the leaders we spoke with noted the importance of communicating whatever information they had with consistency and sometimes repetition. In Hendrick Hudson, Joe Kalkreiter and his team focused on communication as a means to express empathy even when they couldn't provide certainty.
It focused a lot on how do we demonstrate empathy and support during a time of great unknown. And usually the school has answers for things. When parent-teacher conferences are going to be scheduled or rescheduled, or when will schools open back up, or how many kids have been affected or infected with the virus. And we didn't have those answers. And so we communicated almost daily with parents for almost the first 3 or 4 weeks of the pandemic. And I did almost like podcast interviews. I had a series of talking points and information I had to relay, because we were getting real-time information from the governor, the governor's team, or state education department. And our role was to sift through that information so parents received what they needed to know immediately. So we categorized a lot of information of what we needed to know, what was nice to know, and what we really didn't need to know.
Superintendents Barron in Montana and Kafka in New York also emphasized consistency, even if it was only to share updates on what they did and did not know.
So a number of students whose families chose for them to begin the year remote for whatever reason, we certainly respect and understood that, have returned to school. They've maybe seen, we're sending out transparent data every Wednesday. And we always have situations where kids are in unique or challenging situations that we have to adapt to. This one, we just had to do it for so many more.
It's gotten us in a regular habit of sending letters to the entire community all at once. And we also do have Thought Exchange. So it's we've partnered with Thought Exchange, and it's a way of, it's beyond a survey. It's like where you send a question out to the community and then they put in their thoughts, and then everyone rates each other's thoughts. And it's been really helpful for us to see what people really think and for them to see what everyone else thinks.
Superintendent Moritz and her team embraced the idea that communication should never be taken for granted.
I need to know that my entire leadership team have the same messaging that I have on those really important topics. And so I try to get the message out really clearly. Here are the 3 reasons we're not opening until January 4th, and say that with boring redundancy. And still, it's so common, I think, when people either read or hear the message, they'll extract one sentence, right? We go to all this trouble to give a thorough answer that's clear and concise, and they'll pull one sentence out of it. And so I think having all the layers of the organization, make sure your union leaders know why, we make sure our whole leadership team, our board know why did we do something. And then I just hope that everybody gets the full answer and knows they can ask if they don't know.
Getting the right information to the right people at the right time introduced these teams to new practices for communicating that they plan to keep in place as they transition out of this crisis.
We don't just dictate the message, we give supports. Here's what we want to see happen in the end goal, but we support them and support the work along the way. And it's shifting our supervisors from a compliance type role to a support role. We're here, we're going to do the work with you, and we're going to work alongside you in this, and here's the support process that you need in order to get there.
Even though I've been doing this for 21 years, if I have a key email or communication I'm sending out, I have a couple of other administrators who I send it to, and I say, I want you to take a look at this. Yes, I want to hear if there's like a grammar or spelling error, but what I really want to know is, what's the message that's coming through to you? And I think always, no matter how long we've been doing it or how good we get, we ask for that feedback from colleagues. We make sure we're sending it out in every imaginable way that we can.
I think we'll keep the ability for us to connect by way of video conferencing and text message. I think we've been able to communicate with each other faster because we haven't had to deal with proximity issues. I think in the past, when I think about it, the amount of time I spent in the car driving to a meeting, or the time I wouldn't go to a meeting because I didn't want to drive in the car to it, has, I think, created some pause of, we can be available and we can be connected when we absolutely need to be, when it's important work, when it's vital work. So I think there are a lot of things that are going to stick with us, and they should. We've got to find the right balance in education between high tech and high touch.
When they instilled order and consistency in their collection, distribution, and production of information, these district leaders and their teams were harnessing the flow and letting information go. In our next and final video in the series, we'll be exploring how leaders saw firsthand that the hard work of the year strengthened individual teammates and strengthened teams, proving that schools grow when people grow. Be sure to visit our website and follow us on Twitter for more content. Check out the description for all of these links and more. If you enjoyed this content, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.